How is beauty used as a justification? Like what are you doing? That's the dilemma. Can personal accountability save humanity? And if you are blocking
How is beauty used as justification?
When does product reign supreme?
Is beauty always wasteful?
Can personal accountability save humanity?
How is beauty used as justification for injustice?
Can personal accountability save
when does
humanity?
product reign supreme? How is beauty used as justification for injustice?
Can personal accountability save humanity?
Is beauty always wasteful?
Can personal accountability save humanity? Hi.
Hi.
Welcome to Plants, Painting, and Poetry. Today we're here with Bobby Gordon, and we're going to be discussing Marxism. Here, have a seat. Sit down.
Thank you.
Hi, we're here with Bobby Gordon, who has a very special project that he's doing on Instagram. Bobby, do you want to tell us about your project?
Absolutely. So my project on Instagram, I'm photographing a lot of nude bodies and trying to photograph nude bodies in a way that is challenging the kind of white supremacist, patriarchal way that we're used to seeing nude bodies, either like skinny white women pictured in one particular way, or other bodies exotified as though them not being white is what makes them interesting and different and exotic, with white being the center and being the norm. And the reason how I got into this is because I was working on an adult film, actually. I was working on an ethical adult film, and I knew I was going to be on set working with performers in a very adult situation. And I was like, okay, that can't be my first time on camera working with folks who are naked. I have to be really comfortable working with naked folks before I'm going to be directing an adult film. And so I started working with burlesque performers, friends and dancers to be doing these naked dance shoots in order to get more comfortable working with naked folks and treating them in a way where they're being respected, and like reading body language, for example, when someone's super uncomfortable, to stop talking about it or doing it. So yeah, that started it.
What have you learned from working with Instagram about how bodies are reported?
Yeah, so white men get away with a lot more shit than everyone else. I mean, surprise, surprise. Women, particularly women of color and trans folks of color, get flagged far more often than white men do for posting the same amount of risque photos. There's been an attack on women of color, on trans folks of color, many of whom make their living using Instagram as important elements of their advertising for their businesses, whereas like a white person like myself can get away with posting someone that someone else might not be able to. So for me, as a person taking these photos, the challenge for me is how to use that privilege, how to leverage that privilege, so that I'm not just pushing myself forward, but instead pushing a collective of artists forward, pushing for change of who's getting, like basically, in short, naming that, but then beyond naming that, pushing for the reality to be different, not just accepting the fact that I can do it, but instead trying to call out the fact, like, why am I getting away with this? Why is it okay for me to do this and not for you to do this?
Why and how are non-traditional bodies more sexy than the prototype that we're supposed to fit?
I think the coded language of the prototype we're supposed to fit is white and skinny, and so why are they sexier? We exotify people of color in super fucked up racist ways. So if white is the normal, anything that's not white is interesting because it's deviating from that. So it's rooted in white supremacy, and it's rooted in this like bizarre, and what should be bizarre but is all too common, fetishizing of other bodies. So it's not treating folks with respect, it's objectifying folks. And I would argue that oftentimes we collapse sex and objectification, and I'm really curious what sensuality, what sexuality looks like that is not objectification, but instead keeping folks in their subjecthood while being sensual and sexual beings. To me, that would be a huge leap from where we're at now as a culture. And I think one of the things I fucking hate is that more people see my work on Instagram than anywhere else. I am desperate to change that, because to me that's an algorithmic reproduction of all of the fucked up shit in our society that we vocally are trying to push back against, but we reinforce every day. So the question that I sit with is how can I find a different way of sharing my work so that the form of how my work is being received can echo the content that I wish it to be received with, and whether there's money involved or not, like that's part of the equation, but that's not the whole equation.
Is it possible to be subversive on Instagram?
I don't think it's possible to be subversive in any kind of a sustainable way in this white supremacist capitalistic society that we're in without being at the bare minimum in a symbiotic relationship with white supremacy and capitalism. So anything that's going to actually push back against white supremacy, anything that's going to actually push back against the dehumanizing nature of capitalism is going to be a threat to white supremacy and capitalism if it's successful. So anything that's going to sustain itself and continue is living in, to use the plant metaphor, is living in the soil of white supremacy and capitalism. So sustainability, I'm not super interested in that, to be totally honest. Like, I'm interested in what deconstruction looks like and what humanizing deconstruction looks like.
That's good. It's nice. It's nice. So when does product reign supreme?
In the hellscape of a capitalist apocalypse that we're in. I think if we've seen anything with the pandemic, we've seen how much more product is valued than people. And so product reigning supreme, products can move freely, people are kept at borders, people are kept in cages, people are dying because we're not as important as products. So I think anytime you've got this kind of capitalist setting where the purpose of every organization is ultimately to make money or to be able to subsist inside of this capitalist system, product is going to reign supreme and people are going to be pushed underneath all of that. Should I?
How is beauty used as a justification?
How is beauty used as justification for injustice?
Great question. I mean, think Picasso, for example. I remember Hannah Gadsby's piece where she talked about all of the horrible, fucked up shit that Picasso did, but his paintings are so beautiful. Fuck that. I mean, we think about all yes to ending cancel culture, but also like accountability. So like, what does it mean for like an artist's voice to be important, as though their actions are not also important? So I think beauty reigns supreme because ultimately beauty is it can be a product, whereas people are not products. I know in some other episodes there's been arguments that anything is for sale, but ultimately my belief is that people aren't for sale, but all of the things, all the ephemera is for sale.
Hello.
Is beauty always wasteful?
Is beauty always wasteful?
I think inside of a white supremacist capitalist system, if that's it depends who's defining beauty. So in this system that we're in, it's white straight men defining what beauty is, and that vision is white supremacist, it's patriarchal, and so it's silencing and pushing everyone else to the margins. So I think in that kind of a system, it's wasteful and it's wasting human lives. So I think for us, if we're going to really be a part of any kind of art worth making, it's about questioning who's deciding what beauty is, what is beauty, how can it be pushing back against all of the things that we've been told are beautiful, but instead to be challenging that, to think what would beauty look like that affirms our humanity beyond these racial definitions that dehumanize us even as we privilege us. Like you and I as white people, for example, here we are, we're privileged by our whiteness, but we're also dehumanized by our whiteness. So our need to push back past these beauty standards is not for someone else's humanity, it's for our own. I don't know if you want to tell them that.
What are you doing? And if you're up watching, can personal accountability save humanity?
Can personal accountability save humanity?
stay along with it.
Can personal accountability save humanity?
Accountability can, but personal accountability can't. I mean, I think that's part of the issue, that we're looking at ourselves as individuals. It's everyone for themselves. It's in this capitalist hellscape. If we're looking at ourselves as part of a collective, as part of a united humanity, then collective accountability is what I think can save humanity. Here we are in this system where we're the grandchildren of slave owners. We're the grandchildren of all these people that stole this land. Here we are doing this on stolen land because the people that did it generations ago set the system in place where there's individual accountability. So you and I don't have to answer for what our ancestors did. We're not held in a legal system where there's that collective accountability. Instead, we have the right. We have the right to earn whatever money we want, to earn whatever life we want, having a million more opportunities than other folks who are trying to survive genocides. So I don't think personal accountability can save humanity, can save the planet, can save anything but white people. I think collective accountability can save humanity and save the planet.
This is your plan.
Thank you.
You should go.
Okay. This was.
That was Plants, Painting, and Poetry. Have a good night.